We're now in the fittings area. So Lawton tube, obviously known for copper tube, but back in 2010 we decided to get into accessories. Fittings like this. So this was what we first launched, a range of ACR fittings to match the tube. So our range goes from 3/16 all the way up to 4 on 1/8. It's an enormous range, as you can see, and we carry very, very large stocks of it. So these refrigeration fittings are used both in fridge and in air conditioning, but sometimes when you're running CO2, which is a much higher pressure gas, you need something that with a thicker wall and more ability to hold the pressure. Hence K65. K65 fittings were introduced back in 2013 when the need for CO2 to be used as a refrigerant within supermarket applications. These are a much thicker fitting, much heavier, and we do this from 3/8 all the way up to 1 5/8. And again, stock a very, very large amount. This is not made of pure copper, so whereas normal fittings are 99.98% pure, this carries 2% iron, and the reason for that is so it has a higher tensile strength and is able to hold a much higher pressure without the need for excessively thick wall fittings. Next up is MaxiPro. Launched much more recently, back in 2020. This is more of an air conditioning product currently. Whereas the other two products that I've just showed you, they're brazed to be joined. This is a non-brazed fitting, so this is used where a hot works permit is not permitted, and we use a gun to make a press on the fitting to crush it onto the tube to make the joint. This saves the installer time, it saves the need for nitrogen purging before brazing, and it's a lot quicker and easier to install. Yeah, so brazing is where you join the copper pipe and the fittings with high temperature. So you'll use a high temperature torch like oxyacetylene, and this will then heat up the fitting and the tube, and you'll use a brazing rod, which are here, to then melt onto the tube to make the joint. Now we do various ranges of brazing rods. We do a small percentage of silver in this one, so this is commonly used for standard copper to copper brazing. However, in some applications there is a need for a high silver content. This gives added strength, and it's used when brazing dissimilar metals, so like copper to brass, for example. And that, typical, isn't it?
Keep it going, keep it going.
Take two. Jesus, Rob! Sorry, viewers. And that is why you need a flux-coated high silver brazing rod for brazing those dissimilar metals.